So, was it a gift or a curse? Sometimes you don't know until afterwards and you're looking back on everything that happened. But before getting too far into Sophie Hatter, the person, spoilers for Howl's Moving Castle, the book. It is different enough from the movie that if you've only seen the movie and not read the book, you'll still probably enjoy this character study, but she is different enough that maybe you'll feel like reading the book after this. So, Sophie is the eldest of 3 daughters, and that right there already makes her feel like her fate is sealed. She knows all the stories, so she already knows her fate. Nothing ever works out for the eldest daughter of 3. She is the one for whom things will always go wrong, and she pretty firmly believes that her fate is already decided by outside forces. There's nothing she can do about it. So why even bother to strive or dream, or why bother trying to change anything about your life when you so firmly believe that it's just doomed to failure? And she believes this so firmly that she just kind of accepts everything that happens to her. She sees her sisters going off and getting these wonderful things that she wishes she could have, and she sits there making hats. This is her lot in life. And I really appreciate that this is a little glimpse into her heart that you don't necessarily see in the movie. In the book, you get to see that it's such a big deal for her what happens to her and why the curse on her is so life-changing. In the movie, it kind of happens fast. Like, most of her story in the movie is after she leaves home. In the book, you get to see a little bit about how she feels about herself and how her belief systems about herself influence what she does and what she's willing to do. And she's kind of living in fear. She's too afraid to go visit her sister. She's afraid to change anything. In some ways, I don't even know if it's fear or just apathy. Like, why bother? Why does it matter? Sophie would have sat there and wasted her life at a job she hates if she hadn't been cursed. And she never would have discovered her magical gift, her ability to speak life into objects. Another thing that I'm sad that was basically left out of the movie, I don't think she has any magical ability in the movie. And so while at first it definitely felt like a curse, suddenly becoming old when you're young and able-bodied, but it pretty quickly flips to being able to see that she doesn't treat it like a curse. She fully embraces this new life change. She embraces believing herself to be an old woman, just like she used to embrace her belief about herself of being the eldest daughter and how that would affect her in life. I don't think the eldest daughter thing is in the movie, but she embraces the oldness to a degree that is just so cute. She decides she can't stay at home. She's an old lady now. She doesn't want anyone to see her. She leaves home. You could say she runs away. She leaves to seek her fortune in the wide world. And what was meant to be a curse or a terrible misfortune for her ends up being a blessing. It broke her out of the life she was in and forces her into something new. She's liberated from her old humdrum life and she has achieved old ladyhood. So she just decides to be an old lady. And what are some things that old ladies do? For one, they do whatever they want, because who's gonna stop an old lady? They also say what they want and they don't care what people think of them. The old Sophie, and by old I mean younger Sophie, the previous Sophie, never would have broken into a wizard's castle. Not only does she break in, she expects to stay. And the new Sophie, the old, aged Sophie, totally takes advantage of her old lady status. I'm old, I'm crotchety, I'm gonna do what I want and you're not gonna stop me. And so the new, old Sophie enters into an agreement with a fire demon, and she makes a place for herself in the castle. And she experiences wonders that she never could have imagined and that she never would have experienced before. That in itself is a blessing. And I noticed, and this is a similarity between the book and the movie, Sophie gets kind of complacent. She doesn't actually try too hard to break Calcifer's curse. And I have to wonder whether that's because she is really enjoying being old so much. Is she really loving this life that she found and she doesn't want it to change? Or is there that old fear and apathy of, why bother trying if I'm probably going to fail? Because life for her has changed, her body has changed, her mindset has changed, but deep down she is the same Sophie, and her old self didn't bother trying to change things, because what was the point? And I have a feeling some of that comes into this new situation with Calcifer. What's the point of trying? Why try to change when this is just how it is? And she does mess things up. As she tries new things, sometimes they don't work. Sometimes she does something wrong. But instead of taking ownership of those mistakes and flaws, she just goes back to her old excuse of blaming it on being the eldest. Well, of course I'll mess everything up. I'm the eldest. Howl will have none of it. He calls her out on it. Tells her she needs to slow down and think. Because while Sophie's body may be old, her mind isn't. She's still young. She still has a lot to learn. Because most people grow old gradually, learning lessons and wisdom along the way. Sophie becomes old suddenly. So she feels free from her old inhibitions, but without the learned wisdom. So she is enjoying certain aspects of the curse. She doesn't really want to stay old, but she doesn't know how to let the curse go. Speaking of Howl, since the book is actually called Howl's Moving Castle, he's a lot different in the book. I would say I like Howl better in the movie. Not that he's a bad guy in the book, but he's a little more self-absorbed in the book. He's still a kind person, I would like to say, but he definitely focuses more on himself. And so by the end of this book, Sophie breaks the curse. She's finally able to embrace her true self. She's kind of had to dig deep during this story. Is she just the eldest of three? Is she just an old woman? Who is the real Sophie? She also gets to be the hero. In all those stories that she knows, which is how she knows about the eldest sister, that eldest sister doesn't get to be the hero. She doesn't come save the day, but Sophie gets to. She saves Calcifer and Howl. Also, huge for her, she discovers that she gets to have agency in her own life. She never believed that before. Things happened to her and she had to deal with it. But she learns that she can take charge. She can create her own destiny. And she learns that she has magic. And a direct quote from Howl to Sophie, "I think we should live happily ever after." No arguments from Sophie there. I think she's finally accepted that she deserves a happy ending. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe here for more bookish content like this. You can follow me on my Instagram. The link will be in the description. And I'll see you next time. Bye.